Solid franchise, Snake and the player are often left in the dark. Intel is dispensed on a need-to-know basis, and when the truth is finally revealed, it's often quite a shock. There are way more than 10 big twists in the series, so to narrow down the conspiracies, we focused on those that we really didn't see coming. The bombs that sent shockwaves reverberating through other games, or took years to build up to. We've intentionally left MGS5 off the list for those that are currently playing it. If you're completely new to the series, be warned, every entry on this countdown is a massive spoiler. Metal Gear's PlayStation debut is filled to the brim with twists and revelations that shape the foundation of the series, but perhaps one of the most underrated moments comes with the simple and elegant deception by Liquid Snake. Utilizing a temperature-sensitive keycard, Snake has to endure an arduous process to deactivate the nuclear warhead sported by Metal Gear Rex. Or so he thinks. In truth, the bomb is never armed due to the DARPA chief's untimely death, and Snake ends up doing exactly the opposite of his intended goal. When you want a job done right, just let Snake do it.
Detonation code activated.
No, why? We were accomplices in murder before the day we were even born.
In Metal Gear Solid, Liquid reveals to Snake that they were part of Les Enfants Terribles, the Terrible Children, a project to artificially create the most powerful soldier possible. The person chosen as the model was the dominant soldier of his time, Big Boss. Liquid originally believed himself to be the weaker of the two clones, but in reality, Liquid was superior. He received the dominant genes, and Snake got the scraps. This revelation of their familial relationship created a rivalry that persists through the rest of the series.
The person that they chose as the model was the man known then as the greatest living soldier in the world.
What a pleasant surprise, brother.
Save it. You brother of mine.
Don't say you've forgotten me, Snake.
Solidus Snake, the main villain in Metal Gear Solid 2, is a man who wears many hats and has many secrets. He was the third clone of Big Boss, worked for the CIA, and adopted and trained a young Raiden. His most shocking role, however, was getting elected President of the United States. He helped set into motion the events of Metal Gear Solid by sending Revolver Ocelot to meet and persuade Liquid Snake into hijacking Metal Gear Rex. Solidus Snake's involvement is critical in the Metal Gear saga, and his position as president was a shock at the time.
The GW system is the Patriots' trump card.
Throughout Metal Gear Solid 2, Raiden unravels the thread of the Patriots. He's told that the government is all just a show, with the Patriots pulling the strings, shaping society for their purposes. The deeper Raiden gets, the more defining his reality becomes, and even his mission and personal relationships are results of the Patriots' manipulation. Meanwhile, the true reason Solidus attacks Big Shell is to expose just who these shadowy individuals are so he can end their rule. After Solidus is defeated, Solid Snake gets the disc containing this sensitive information, but when Otacon decrypts the data and identifies them, he learns that the Patriots have been dead for 100 years. And on that bombshell, players are left in the dark, waiting for another game to learn more.
Who's that?
First appearing in Metal Gear Solid 3, Donald Anderson assists Naked Snake during Operation Snake Eater. He goes on to become a founding member of the Patriots and eventually becomes DARPA chief. In Metal Gear Solid, Solid Snake sneaks his way through Shadow Moses to speak with the DARPA chief, who is being held prisoner. The chief unexpectedly dies while chatting with Snake, but you eventually learn he was just Decoy Octopus in disguise, a member of Foxhound who can impersonate anyone. The real DARPA chief was killed by Ocelot while being tortured. Snake later discovers the DARPA chief's real body while being held captive. Decoy Octopus is never heard from again in the entire series. Or is that exactly what Kojima wants us to think?
Our final moment. The battle has ended.
Throughout the entire series, Revolver Ocelot is something of an enigma. Popping up as a friend and/or foe through nearly every installment of Metal Gear Solid, you're left to piece together his story over the course of 2 decades. It wasn't until the epic finale of Guns of the Patriots that he reveals his true allegiance, to carry out the will of Big Boss and give the world its freedom. His story is a turbulent one, to be sure, sacrificing his beliefs, his arm, and even his mind for the sake of seeing the mission through. But in one final twist, he sacrifices his life to do what the sons of Big Boss could not. Does this make Ocelot the real hero?
You're pretty good.
You're pretty good. Pretty good. You're just like me. We're just pawns.
Pawns for what purpose?
One of the most significant twists in MGS2 is the S3 plan. At the start of the plant chapter, you're told to rescue hostages, including the US president, from a terrorist group known as Dead Cell. In reality, the entire incident is manufactured by the Patriots to be a recreation of Shadow Moses from Metal Gear Solid, with Dead Cell mirroring Foxhound. The Patriots want to prove they can completely manipulate events and the actions of others without anyone being aware. While you may think you're saving the world, in reality most of your actions only play into one giant scheme. All of it is part of Metal Gear Solid 2's central message.
This is the S3 training kernel. An orchestrated recreation of Shadow Moses.
What? Big Boss.
Big Boss is the primary villain in both the original Metal Gear titles. His legacy permeates through nearly every action in subsequent games, including Metal Gear Solid, when the sons of the Big Boss demand his corpse be released into their possession. When his corpse is finally shown to be in possession of Big Mama, aka Ava, in Act 3 of Metal Gear Solid 4, it's a sad and intimate moment for both the player and Old Snake. So it comes as quite a surprise when midway through the credits, Big Boss shows up with a comatose Major Zero for an epic family reunion. He details the events involving Zero and his eventual split into the Patriots. It takes the franchise back to the beginning, and it's a fitting culmination for the Metal Gear legacy. In Metal Gear Solid 3, the boss is initially presented as an almost infallible figure. She's a legendary hero and the mentor of player character Naked Snake. It's confusing then when she defects to the Soviet Union, betraying everything she stands for. Worse, a nuclear attack by Colonel Volgin on a Soviet research facility is blamed on the American government. To prove their innocence, the government pins the attack on the boss and sends Naked Snake in to kill her. It turns out the boss's defection was just a CIA cover-up. She was actually sent in to recover the Philosopher's legacy, an enormous sum of money gathered by the most powerful individuals in the world. She willingly let Snake kill her for the sake of her country. Despite being completely used, she remains loyal to the end, and very few know of her sacrifice. Her actions send Naked Snake, now known as Big Boss, into a descent toward becoming a villain.
We need to get there. Can you handle it? I need a few more minutes.
Nowadays, Raiden is an integral part of Metal Gear lore, but when Jack the Ripper was first introduced in MGS2, people were not only surprised, they were kind of offended. Leading up to launch, Kojima pulled the wool over US audiences by implying that Solid Snake would return as the central character in the first Solid sequel, Sons of Liberty. Snake was even shown squaring off against bosses that Raiden ended up fighting in the final game. This was no mistake. The themes of MGS2 deal directly with an inherent mistrust in digital information. Snake and Raiden are lied to by their superiors, and gamers were lied to by Kojima. Ruses this elaborate are rarely achieved in video games, especially ones that can rile up the fanbase or potentially hurt a game's sales. Kojima loves being a troll, and we wouldn't have it any other way. Bossman and Huber waggle their way through some wacky races on the Wii in the latest First 15, and we return from the wasteland to score and witness the latest open-world apocalypse from Avalanche Studios, Mad Max. We'll see you next week for another GT Countdown.